2025, and the trade wars are back, louder, bolder, and with higher stakes.
Trade war between the United States and China.
China has announced 84% tariffs on American goods coming into China.
US President Donald Trump has announced sweeping tariffs on goods imported into the United States.
Former President Donald Trump, now running for re-election, has reignited one of his most controversial economic tools, tariffs. But this time, it's not just about China. Tariffs are going up across the board. Mexico, India, the European Union. No one's off the list. Trump calls it a universal baseline tariff, a sweeping policy to protect American jobs and manufacturing. But what does it mean for the global economy? For everyday Americans? For your wallet? In this deep dive, we're going to explore what's really going on behind these new tariffs. Who wins, who loses, and whether this could trigger Trade War 2.0. Let's rewind a bit. During Trump's first term, from 2017 to 2021, tariffs became a hallmark of his economic nationalism. His administration imposed tariffs on billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods, targeting steel, aluminum, and later, a wide range of consumer goods. The justification? National security, trade deficits, and the idea that China was playing unfair. The impact was mixed. Some U.S. manufacturing sectors saw a temporary boost, but retaliation from China hit American farmers hard. Prices of imported goods went up, and studies showed the net cost of those tariffs often landed right back in American laps, in the form of higher prices. Now, Trump's doubling down. His 2025 proposal outlines a universal tariff, a 10% levy on all imports, regardless of origin. With China, the proposed rate could reach 60%. Trump argues this will force companies to bring production home, protect American workers, and reduce dependence on foreign nations, especially those seen as adversarial. Critics argue it will cause inflation, spark retaliation, and harm U.S. consumers more than foreign rivals. So who's on the receiving end of these new tariffs? In short, almost everyone. China remains target number one. Trump claims China continues to manipulate its currency, steal intellectual property, and dump cheap goods into global markets. The new tariffs would expand far beyond previous rounds, affecting electronics, pharmaceuticals, automotive parts, and more. Mexico is being targeted again, this time tied to issues over immigration, border security, and outsourcing. Trump argues that Mexico benefits from free trade while America shoulders the burden of illegal migration and lost jobs. India and Vietnam, emerging as major players in global manufacturing, are now seen as part of the problem. Trump accuses these countries of benefiting unfairly from trade imbalances and undercutting American producers with cheap labor. And then there's the European Union. Trump has his eyes on luxury cars, wine, and tech companies. He's not happy about digital taxes being proposed on U.S. tech giants, and the EU's environmental regulations are seen as barriers to American exports. Here's where it hits home. Tariffs are a tax, but not one paid by foreign governments. They're paid by importers, who pass those costs along to you, the consumer. If you're buying a smartphone, a washing machine, or even a car, expect prices to rise. Everyday items, from sneakers to televisions, could become significantly more expensive. Inflation, already a concern post-COVID, could get worse. Retailers, particularly those dependent on imports, are sounding the alarm. Small businesses warn they may be forced to raise prices or cut staff. American manufacturers that rely on global supply chains for parts and materials will face higher production costs. Even American farmers, many of whom support Trump, could suffer if other countries retaliate with tariffs on U.S. agricultural exports, as China did during the first round. So why is Trump doing this? Again, it's partly ideological. Trump believes deeply in economic nationalism. He wants to make the U.S. less reliant on foreign production and more self-sufficient. But there's also a political angle. Tariffs play well with Trump's base. They signal strength, protectionism, and a tough stance on countries perceived as exploiting American generosity. They're simple to understand and easy to rally behind. For many voters in manufacturing heavy swing states like Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, the promise of job protection resonates. Trump is betting that tariffs will energize these voters, even if the economic data paints a more complicated picture. President Biden, meanwhile, is walking a tightrope. He hasn't fully dismantled Trump's original tariffs and has implemented some protectionist policies of his own. But Biden's approach is more measured, aimed at strategic decoupling from China without escalating tensions. Trump's return threatens to undo that balance. Let's talk winners and losers. Some U.S. industries stand to gain, particularly those that directly compete with imports. Steel, aluminum, textiles, and certain electronics manufacturers could see a bump. But the list of losers is longer. Retail, automotive, agriculture, and any business that relies on international supply chains could suffer. The stock market is likely to react poorly to trade instability. Consumers, as mentioned, will feel it in their wallets. So here's the million-dollar question. Do tariffs work? It depends on your goals. If the goal is to reduce imports and protect specific American industries, tariffs can work in the short term. But long term, they tend to distort markets, drive up prices, and invite retaliation. Trump's tariffs might create political leverage and rally economic nationalists, but they come with trade-offs: inflation, instability, and potential isolation. And while the strategy might play well on the campaign trail, the real test is in execution and the global fallout. We're entering a moment where politics, economics, and global diplomacy are colliding. Tariffs are no longer just about trade. They're about power, influence, and who sets the rules of the 21st century economy. So whether you support or oppose Trump's move, one thing is clear: this trade storm is just beginning. If you found this deep dive helpful, hit that like button, subscribe for more breakdowns like this, and drop your thoughts in the comments.